Board. Okay, fingers crossed. I used the other one for so long, you just kind of get used to it. So this is my first actual application of Captura. Okay, day 5. This is where we start kind of blurring the lines between front end and back end. I mean, they still live in very separate worlds, coming together. In the point of the browser and through all the different communication and all this kind of stuff. But so far, we've only used static HTML. And with Ruby, we have a way that we can have Ruby talk to HTML and make brand new HTML pages. This really is, in a way, that how Ruby makes a web application as opposed to a simple web page. So I will be doing this as part of demo. We'll be building on that yes or no application. I will be using some of the Ruby that you even saw just now inside of HTML. We're actually making calls to Ruby in an HTML document. Well, not quite an HTML document. We'll talk about instance variables. So you remember just regular old variables, these are assigning something in memory. Instance variables do the same thing, but it broadens the scope. Before, remember how I had the method, and I couldn't read the city variable that was defined outside that method. Likewise, if I defined a city variable, I couldn't get it in the wider scope. Instance variables give us a way to broaden that scope in a way. You'll be defining values inside your actions.rb controller, which I think you've already all seen, and you will be taking those values and rendering them to an HTML page that you don't even have to write. Ruby does that for you. You kind of give the design, the outline, and you let the content and the presentation come together. Sinatra with Ruby does a lot of that. We already talked about this. Don't repeat yourself. And we'll talk about looping. So this is kind of the same. It's a dryness definitely lends itself to looping as well. Okay, so I don't think this is true. I think HTML is even kind of neat, but it is pretty easy. It's everything has its idiosyncrasies, but it's something that truly children can do and should. HTML with what we call embedded Ruby, we actually take that Ruby code, put it inside of an HTML or what's to become an HTML document, and let Sinatra produce the result. We can style it, we can do whatever we want with it. It makes it dynamic. Embedded Ruby. We dynamically generate HTML. Dynamic as opposed to static, of course, which never changes. We have 2 types of tags, right? So you already know about the tags that we use in HTML. We've got, H1 tags, we got body tags, we got all this kind of stuff. ERB needs 2 extra tags. And we call them alligator tags because I guess they kind of look like an alligator. Things are hard to name, right? Coming up with stuff with name. If I squint my eyes and I'm kind of looking at this thing, yeah, I guess that I see his eyes, and I see his long mouth. He's coming up on the shore. I guess that's an alligator. That's an alligator tag. And there's 2 types. There's one if we want to do comparisons, right? If we want to see if there's 2 values, if yeses is greater than no's, or something like that. And then there's the alligator tags that spit stuff out to screen, that render it in the HTML document. Do you see the difference? This is logic. This is for embedding values, sort of like string interpolation. Can anyone point out the difference? Is it too obvious and no one wants to answer? There's an equal sign. This one has no equal sign. It has an opening tag, a closing tag. If we want to actually display something to the screen, we use an equal sign. If we use an equal sign with this thing, I'm pretty sure it's going to crash. Like 99% certain it's going to crash. Notice the closing tags, they're the same. No matter if your embedded Ruby or your alligator tag has an equal sign, which means you're going to spit something out to screen, it still has that same closing tag, no equal sign. Just a common error, common warning. The view is rendered in what we call, I guess we can call it the controller. I tend to say the actions file. You define your actions in actions.rb in your Finstagram application, and indeed any Sinatra application, at least a simple one. It's here where the user's request is received. So if I went to www.example.com, somewhere in there, there's going to be something listening and saying, okay, well, whatever this slash is, this is the home page. Execute this code, take a whole bunch of stuff from the database, and then return this view to the user. So this is very, very simple stuff, right? All we're doing is saying, render the home page. And this home page, this is a matter of, I guess it's not, well, I mean, it's configured this way. It's all stored in a certain directory. You give it the name, it knows where to look, renders the HTML, sends it back to the user. Variables, these are instance variables. So I should back up here a second. So this actions RB. You heard me mention, I need to get something out of the database. Maybe I need to perform a calculation. Maybe I want to find, the yeses and the nos or whatever it may be. I need to get that data and I need to store it somewhere. And then I need to take that data and give it to the view that's rendered to the user. So it looks like you guys are following me. If you don't, that's okay. We're going to do this as part of a demonstration. But anything you define in here, you can send it to the view by prefixing your variable definition with an ampersand. The back one here? Yeah. Special kind of Ruby variable. Any instance of the object, or how does it work? What's a good definition for that? Sorry?
Is looking at a file out there, or?
Yeah, this is going to be a file.
Home is a file.
Yeah, if you look in your app/views/home.erb, that's where it's going to find that file.
Okay, so the ERB file is that file.
Yes, exactly. And the ERB becomes the HTML. Exactly. Yes, thank you. So we see a very, very small, simple example of how this data is now displayed to the client, whoever the user that made the request. You see the common H2 tag, nothing new there. You see a hello, right? Nothing new there, just plain text. This will be displayed to screen. Then you see potentially that user defined back here. It's not, right? But we could have @user equals some database call, right? Get this user from the database, put it inside this variable, pass it back to the view, and retrieve that user's name. Display it to the screen. Process the ERB, translate it into HTML, take all these variables out, and just display the static content. That's dynamic, but the content itself isn't really changing in this case. Right. Don't repeat yourself. I say this so often. It's like, I don't know, like people always kind of laugh, but it's like, if you want to be a good programmer, you got to be real lazy. You don't want to be doing the same thing over and over and over again, right? You just want to do it once and never have to think about it again. Dry is like that, and it's also a way to reduce errors. Like, say if you took the example that I was talking about before, let's say I took all that code that I defined in a method, and I just started copying and pasting all over the place. At some point, I'm going to figure out, oh, whoa, something's wrong here. I have to go back and change every single place where I applied this code. If I just keep it all in one place, I change it in one place, I don't repeat myself, the whole world's happy, right? It's not a good idea. And if you find yourself repeating yourself, then you know you're doing something wrong. Almost, maybe not 100% of the time, but very close to that. So we've done methods. And I think, well, you're going to see this as part of your coursework. We can use a loop. So we saw, when I was doing the review, we saw an example of a hash, dictionary, whatever you want to call it. And we saw, well, actually, we didn't do a review of this, but an array. We saw this in the previous deck of slides from the review. Okay, so we index this in a different way. We just pass the value, of course, remember starting counting at 0. We have constructs in most computer languages that allow us to look inside of this array one element or one index at a time. And we have in Ruby, we call the each method. That's what it's doing. So we have this posts array, an instance variable assigned somewhere off in the controller in your actions.rb file. It contains, all the comments that people have put on your Finstagram post, the image, whatever you're done with it. When it gets to the view, it's going to look inside of that post and it's going to say, okay, well, here's 3 items. Starting up here, give me the first item, assign it to this variable here. Oops, this variable here. I was like way up here. I mean to be pointing right here. Oops, go back. And for each item you see in this array, give me a big H2 tag, put that post title inside of there, right? Because I'm indexing it. In this case, we have an array of hashes. Give me the title, make it big. Go on to the next line, make it slightly smaller. This is the byline, the author is introducing himself. It says by post author. So here's my trip to the beach by Dan, right? Go to the next one. This one's got 3. So I'm on post 2, do the exact same thing and spit it out to the rendered HTML every single time. You're going to see this. Oh, this is where it always kind of gets a little weird. I'm not sure how to approach this. Sometimes we kind of like group a whole bunch of ideas and they all definitely go together. But sometimes I wonder, maybe it's a bit too much. One thing you see, and this is all part of that dry principle, right? Because you've seen web pages before. You all know how to, browse the web. Every time it's been so long since I've heard someone say surf the information superhighway. It always makes me laugh when I hear that. I don't know why. It's just such a funny thing to say in 2017. But we have, you go to a website, you have a very consistent theme. You typically, you always have that navigation bar. You have your, maybe it's a basic promotional page. You have about, contact, the kind of traditional stuff you typically see in a web page. Every page you go to has the exact same header, the exact same footer, maybe copyright, maybe, legal disclaimers, whatever it might be. It's the stuff in the middle that changes. And this is all part of not repeating yourself. So we have a general layout file in a Sinatra application and most web application frameworks. I can't think of any that don't. Inside of there, we have this Ruby keyword called yield, which says, I hope I'm not saying this wrong. It's give control to, not the calling context. Shoot, I'm going to have to think of a good way to put that. But it's saying take all the stuff inside your individual views. Maybe it's your about page. Maybe it's your home page. Maybe it's your contact page. And glue it right here where you see this yield sign. Okay, this is where you get to see all this stuff now. And I'm going to take a couple steps back, and I'm going to show you how to do this from scratch, because I just think many cohorts ago on my GitHub page, please feel free to like and follow or whatever GitHub does. There's nothing good, I promise you, except for this. Cloud9 setup. So I just did this for students like you. Real fast way to get started, do a demo, just to try stuff. So I invite you to use this. Really all I need right here, because it gives you, step-up instructions, is just this address from which to make a clone. So create a new Cloud9 workspace, c9.io. And create a new workspace. Doesn't seem like doing that. Come on. Whoa, yeah, that is slow. What is going on? Okay, so this is for our March week 3, day 1 demo. ERB demo for week 3, day 1. This is, of course, all on my Cloud9 account. You guys can go see this if you're interested. So I'm not going to pick any of these. I think you've already done this before. I'm going to paste that template skeleton. This is just, convenient for students and for myself, and create a new workspace with the project already ready to go. That's all I'm doing here. And you're welcome to use it, of course. Now, hopefully I have my other base here. Where did I put it? Because we did it week 2, day 1. So that's coming up in this space. A lot of stuff, right? EA, trying to make it as easy as possible. People just kind of do. People have to work hard on those people. Believe it or not, my father and mother did an English degree way back. And I mean, not like this was like 100 years ago. Like an English degree was just as worthless then as it is now. They just actively discouraged me from going into computer science. Very strange. And I'm not sure why this is taking so long. Come in. March 3 and W2. Come on, Cloud9. Use pretty. Okay, well, this is the other work. So this came on weekday. And as you can recall, it was very HTML and CSS where we brought it together for the first time. The other thing that takes a good programmer is impatience. It's true. Yeah, you gotta have all these terrible personal qualities. You have to be prideful. You have to be lazy. You have to be impatient. That's what makes a good programmer. I didn't come up with that. There was a guy named Larry Wall, inventor of the whole programming language. Okay, so here's our project from last day. Just to remind us, refresh our memories, I'm going to bring this up with Patty. It's just serving up a simple index.html and accompanying style sheet. Let's open that up. Someone asked a really good question after class. I'm not sure if it was last time or the time before, but the question was, well, how come we have to do this index.html? I don't go to any other website and see index.html. You don't have to, right? I can just take that out. I think it's just default for almost every web browser. I've never heard of one that doesn't do this, but it's going to look for the file called index.html if something isn't explicitly specified, or it might be index.htm even, right? It's just kind of a special file. It's the very first one. So this is what we did. We made it responsive. It looked pretty good on the big screen. Looks pretty good on cell phone. Not bad, right? It's usable. We've got to get this, because this is just regular old HTML and CSS. We've got to get this over into our web application. And it is still going. Close and open again. What are we, savages? I can't even believe this. So yeah, do you try turning it off and on again? No.
Turn it on. That works.
So I gotta get some water. That's a last resort, I say. So I'm just teasing you. Oh. This was always the danger. I was thinking about this. It's like, maybe I should just set it up. But I really did want you guys to see the GitHub cloning method. And I wanted to show you that there is a skeleton project available if you want to experiment. So, you know what? Let's just try this again, because we're not getting anywhere with the demo unless I can bring up workspace. Not even there. Look at it. Oh. Still going. March, week 3, day 1, demo, ERB demo for week 3, day 1. All right, so this is going to kind of be the real test. And I can't remember, did I copy and paste anything? This should be my web address, yeah, or my repository address. Let's try that. Name taken. Yeah, right it is. Demo 2. Okay, if this takes much longer, I'm going to set you guys loose and we'll do a demo when it comes up. Give this one more chance and then you guys can get to work. Oh my goodness, is everyone just on it or something? This is crazy. You're going to watch the video and it's going to be like talking. Why is it taking so long? Yes.
Okay, I have a question. When you create this workspace, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see you pick any template. You always pick the HTML.
You don't need to. So in this case, so that's a good question. If I go to Cloud9, all this stuff kind of just, I don't know. They're giving you your own very quick starting point. They want to encourage you to try different stuff out. So they set it up so that certain technologies are already previously installed. There's nothing to stop you though from jumping into I don't know, like even a WordPress workspace and changing it into a Ruby workspace. I mean, this is just all Ubuntu. Here's a blank one, right? This is like nothing. I actually don't know what this one is, but apparently this is like some sort of award-winning computer science program, or maybe it's just Harvard people being boastful. I'm not entirely sure, but a lot of people use this. Django is Python. Ruby and Rails is kind of like they're not really comparable, but I guess it's kind of like the big brother of Sinatra. It's like a locomotive, whereas Sinatra is like a moped, right? Node.js, this is one I commonly use all the time, actually. Most of the coding I'm doing for my own projects is written in Node, or JavaScript Node. Okay, you know what? Let's put this on pause. You guys go ahead. In about 45 minutes, I will continue on with the demo. My apologies. I'm not sure what's going on here.
Nice.